Welcome to the Lost in History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. The warning antenna of the World Trade Center appears among the debris in New York City. The image was recorded on September 13, 2001. The moment symbolizes a historical milestone remembered around the world. Jewish survivors at Buchenwald meet with Jewish soldiers from the United States Army. They took part together in the first Shavuot religious service conducted by an army chaplain. A Japanese mother in the United States embraces her children in 1942. The family was part of the transfer process to internment camps. The moment was marked as an important episode of the history of that period. In Egypt, 52 people were detained in 2001 in an episode known as Queen Boat. The name refers to the place where the action happened. The case gained international attention and remains remembered as a historical landmark of that period. Benito Mussolini visits a wounded soldier in 1941 during the Second World War. The photograph was not widely publicized at the time. The moment reflects aspects of censorship and image control during periods of conflict. A German soldier is led through the streets of Saint-Mihiel in France in September 1944. The episode took place during the period of the Second World War. The scene reflects the events of an important transitional moment in Europe. A protester offers a flower to military police officers in front of the Pentagon in the city of Arlington, Virginia, on October 21, 1967. The gesture took place during a large mobilization against the Vietnam War. A barricade was built in Paris in 1871 during the Paris Commune. The photograph shows some lack of sharpness due to the long exposure time. The moment shows one of the forms of popular organization recorded during that historical period. Franz Reichelt appears in Paris in 1912, shortly before testing his parachute suit at the Eiffel Tower. The moment represents one of the earliest attempts at innovation in aviation. The experience was marked in history as a symbol of courage and the pursuit of technological progress. On April 1, 1975, people gather around an airplane in the city of Nha Trang. The moment took place during the withdrawal of United States forces from South Vietnam. The Pacific Squadron of the United States appears in action in 1944. The operation took place during the retaking of the Marshall Islands. The episode was part of the naval operations of that historical period. A soldier's helmet in Vietnam in 1967 bears a handwritten phrase. The inscription read, "War is good business. Invest your son." This kind of message reflected the critical spirit of many young people during that historical period. A soldadera poses looking directly at the camera in 1914 in Mexico. Behind her is a train that would be used to transport people and supplies. The image represents the participation of women in decisive moments in the country's history. Australian soldiers pose next to a Turkish sniper camouflaged as vegetation on the Gallipoli Peninsula, Turkey, in 1916. Camouflage was used as a strategy to blend into the environment. a greeting between a Soviet aviator known as a night witch and an American soldier in 1945. The meeting took place on the banks of the Elbe River in Germany. The moment symbolized the union of forces that marked the final phase of the Second World War. Madame Gustica appears with ornate lip plates while holding a pipe. The presentation was shown to the public as part of exotic entertainment shows. Tambo, a member of the Aboriginal people of Australia, appears in the spotlight. He was part of a group of 9 people recruited in 1882. The initiative was organized by Robert A. Cunningham, a businessman of Irish origin. A family of Italian immigrants poses for a portrait at Ellis Island in 1905. The location was the main gateway for people arriving in the United States. A veteran appears selling boxes of matches on the streets of Canterbury, in the county of Kent, England, in 1930. The scene shows aspects of daily life after periods of major social change. The moment highlights how many people sought a living in simple activities. The end of more than 600 years of the Ottoman Empire is marked by the departure of the last sultan from Istanbul. The event took place on November 17, 1922. That moment represented a major political and cultural transition for the region. Luce and Jesse talk during the 1936 Olympic Games. The meeting between the athletes was marked by friendship and sportsmanship. This moment is remembered as one of the symbols of unity in world sports. George S. Patton's dog remains beside his personal belongings in December 1945. The moment happened soon after the general's passing. The image symbolizes the emotional bond between the animal and its owner. The airship USS Los Angeles lands on the ship USS Saratoga in January 1928. The maneuver was part of integration tests between aircraft and vessels. The episode marked advances in naval aviation experiments of that period. Hoover Dam in April 1935. The waters of the new lake had not yet reached the base of the intake towers. The image records one of the largest engineering projects in the United States in the 20th century. Kai Tak Airport in Hong Kong was considered one of the most challenging for landing. Located within the city, it required airplanes to make a 45-degree turn to line up with the runway. The facility remained in operation until the late 1990s and became part of aviation history. A woman casts her vote in the March 1979 referendum in Iran. The popular vote decided the change in the country's political system. The moment marked one of the main events of contemporary Iranian history. Robert Wadlow was recognized as one of the tallest men in history in 1939. He was 8 feet 11 inches tall and weighed approximately 439 pounds. His extraordinary height became a milestone remembered to this day. Tube-shaped structures were used by the Japanese Army during the Second World War. The purpose was to capture the sounds of approaching aircraft. The technology represented a detection resource used before radar became common. John F. Kennedy and Jacqueline Kennedy appear on their wedding day in 1953. The ceremony took place in Newport, in the state of Rhode Island. The event brought together hundreds of guests and became one of the most remembered weddings of the time. Grace Kelly appears on her wedding day in 1956. The ceremony took place in Monaco and drew international attention. The moment became one of the most remembered weddings of the 20th century. Bill Clinton and Boris Yeltsin look over the landscape of the Hudson River Valley in New York. The meeting took place during the 1990s. The moment symbolized diplomatic rapprochement between the two countries during that period. Kenny Baker appears inside the structure of the character R2-D2 in the mid-1970s. The production was part of the creation of the Star Wars saga. The behind-the-scenes work helped bring to life one of the most famous robots in cinema. The Star Wars cast gathered in a bar in 1977, the year the first film of the saga premiered and became a cultural phenomenon. The image shows part of the behind-the-scenes of a landmark film production. Neil Armstrong prepares pizza for his family in Houston, Texas, in March 1969. The moment happened shortly before his historic space mission. The image shows the family side of one of the great names of space exploration. Pablo Picasso appears in his studio in the city of Cannes, France, in 1956. The space served as a place of creation for his artworks. The image shows the artist in one of the remarkable periods of his career. Brigitte Bardot, at 18 years old, dances on a rooftop in the city of Paris in 1952. The moment shows the young artist at the beginning of her career. The photograph became a striking portrait of French culture of the time. Jamie Lee Curtis appears next to her mother, Janet Leigh, during a night at Studio 54 in New York City in the 1970s. The place was one of the most famous clubs of the period, frequented by celebrities. Actress Allison Hayes appears in the spotlight during the 1950s. She took part in several film and television productions during that period. Her presence marked the golden age of Hollywood. British actress Jessie Matthews appears wearing a large headpiece in 1934. She took part in a production called Evergreen, which was successful in theaters of the time. The show stood out for its elaborate costuming and the artist's striking presence. The Intourist Hotel appears in the city of Moscow in 1978. From the building, it was possible to see the Kremlin and Red Square. The lodging became one of the reference points for foreign visitors during that period. Flight attendants of United Airlines appear in the early 1970s. They represented the image of modernity and service during air travel of the time. The moment reflects the evolution of commercial aviation services in the period. Storyville Jazz Club, in operation in the city of Copenhagen, Denmark, in 1952. The space was recognized as a gathering point for musicians and fans of the genre. The place is remembered as an important part of the cultural and musical scene of the time. An auction of Berlin Wall blocks took place in the late 1980s. The pieces were made available as historical souvenirs after the fall of the structure. The event symbolized Germany's political and cultural transformation during that period. A teacher in California uses surfing to explain physics concepts during the 1970s. The creative approach helped students understand the subject in a practical way. This method became an example of innovation in teaching at the time. Passengers enjoy flying in the first class of Swissair during the 1960s. The comfort on board reflected the height of commercial aviation of the time. That period was marked by the charm and sophistication of international travel. Supergiant, a supermarket located in Rockville, Maryland, in 1964. The establishment drew attention for its size and the variety of products available. It was an example of the growth of the large retail chain model in the United States. The first Subway store opened in Bridgeport, Connecticut, in 1965. The place began modestly before the brand's international expansion. The location is remembered as the starting point of one of the largest sandwich chains in the world. The ship USS Joseph P. Kennedy, Jr. takes part in the first America's Cup race of 1962 near Newport, Rhode Island. President John F. Kennedy and Jacqueline Kennedy follow the event on board. Chess player Bobby Fischer appears in a subway car in New York City in April 1962. He looks at a portable board while solving a chess problem during the ride. The city of Yalta, located on the Black Sea coast, on the Crimean Peninsula in 1965. The area was known for its architecture, beaches, and natural scenery. It stood out as a tourist and cultural destination during the period. A busy street in the city of Yerevan, in Armenia, in 1964. Buildings and daily activities show aspects of urban life in that period. The image portrays part of the cultural and social transformation of the Armenian capital. Moscow during the 1950s. Buildings, squares, and streets reveal the urban development of the capital. The city was going through a period of expansion and modernization. An aluminum factory located in Sumgait, in Azerbaijan, in 1957. The industrial facility symbolized the region's economic growth. The complex was considered one of the landmarks of local development in the period. A disco club operating in East Germany in 1976. It was a space for music, dance, and gatherings of young people. The environment reflected cultural and social aspects of the period. The Computing Center of the Academy of Sciences of the Soviet Union appears in 1969. The space gathered large electronic equipment used for calculations and research. A woman chooses a lunch tray at a drive-in called Auto Motor Mat in Hollywood. The service offered quick meals directly to customers in their vehicles. It was an example of the modern lifestyle that gained popularity in the mid-20th century. A driving simulator presented at the Seattle World's Fair in 1962. An activity called the Mobile Economy Run allowed visitors to compete to see who drove with the greatest fuel efficiency. Employees make airline reservations manually in 1945. The process was done with cards, papers, and telephones before the arrival of computers. The practice shows how the organization of air travel worked at the time. A skateboarder crosses Central Park in New York City during the 1960s. The sport was beginning to gain popularity among young people. The image symbolizes the emergence of new forms of urban leisure at the time. A race of bicycles known as penny-farthings held in New York City in 1890. These models had a front wheel much larger than the rear one. The event represents one of the notable moments in the early history of cycling. The construction of the Statue of Liberty was moving forward in 1884. The work was being carried out in Paris before the final assembly in the United States. The monument would become one of the greatest symbols of international friendship and freedom. The Eiffel Tower appears under construction in the city of Paris. Work began in 1887 and ended in 1889. The monument became one of the most recognized symbols of France and of the world. A painter works suspended on the Eiffel Tower at the beginning of the 20th century. The activity required manual techniques for maintaining the metal structure. The image shows part of the care necessary to preserve the monument. The interior of an airplane from the 1930s. Seats, windows, and finishes show what passenger cabins were like in that period. The image portrays the beginning of modern commercial aviation. A house being transported in the Caraca Bay area near the city of Wellington, New Zealand, around 1910. The practice required collective effort and specific techniques to move entire structures. A house being moved in the city of San Francisco, United States, in 1919. The practice required planning and collective effort to move entire structures. It is a curious example of solutions found to meet urban changes in the early 20th century. Italian cyclist Gino Sciardis receives maintenance on his bicycle during the 1949 Tour de France. Technical support was essential for competitors throughout the race. This moment shows part of the athlete's routine in one of the most traditional competitions in world cycling. Soldiers of the South Vietnamese Army use elephants to patrol the jungle in 1962. The use of these animals was part of movement strategies in areas of difficult access. The practice shows how traditional resources were combined with the military context of the time. People in Cairo, Egypt, try the beverage Pepsi-Cola in 1946. The moment marked the brand's arrival in the country. The scene shows how international products began to become popular in the region. An undercover police officer walks on duty in the Brooklyn borough of New York City in July 1969. The photograph shows the city's urban daily life at the end of the 1960s. The moment reflects part of the strategies used by authorities during that historical period. The 1912 World Series brought together the leading teams of the North American League. The games drew great public attention and marked the sports season of that year. A bra known as the bullet bra was popular among women in the 1940s and 1950s. The garment was worn mainly with tight blouses known as sweaters. The model became a fashion icon of the period. A young soldier appears beside his mother in 1917. The meeting took place shortly before his departure for the First World War. The photograph symbolizes the farewell of many families during that historical period. A boy sells Coca-Cola bottles at a roadside stand in 1936. The scene shows how small points of sale were part of everyday life of the period. It is an example of how the brand was already present in different places in the United States. A police officer stops traffic in New York City around 1925. The action allowed a mother cat carrying her kitten to cross the street safely. In France, until 1956, it was common for children to receive a small portion of wine during school meals. The practice was part of the food customs of the time. Over the years, new rules changed that habit and set other forms of nutrition in schools. Coca-Cola bottles being delivered in the state of Tennessee in 1909. The scene shows how the beverage was already present in people's daily lives at that time. The moment highlights the beginning of its distribution expansion in different regions of the United States. The assembly line for the Ford Model T appears in 1926. The industrial process allowed large-scale production of automobiles. This system marked an important advance in the history of modern manufacturing. Actresses Tina Louise, Dawn Wells, and Natalie Schafer appeared together in 1965. They were part of the cast of the television series Gilligan's Island. The production became a classic of North American popular culture. Frank Ballou and Samuel Peterson test a new metal shield in a public demonstration. The creator of the equipment, Elliot Weisbrod, is the man shown holding the piece. The innovation was presented as an example of technological advancement in personal protection. The Federal Building in the city of Chicago was completed in 1905. The structure remained in use for 6 decades before being removed in 1965. A new skyscraper was built on the site as part of modernization of the area. Circus performers appear gathered in Germany in 1926. The photograph shows part of the daily life of this entertainment group. The moment portrays a cultural tradition that attracted audiences in different cities of the time. A girl with a serious expression appears holding a photograph. In the photo she is holding, her sister is shown, but the face has been erased. The scene is a historical record that highlights the importance of family bonds and preserved memory. The track team from the city of Abilene, in the state of Texas, appears together in 1967. The group became known for a curious motto: "The higher the hair, the faster the runner." That phrase became a playful symbol of the team and is still remembered today as part of its identity. A family goes for a car ride in the United Kingdom around the 1930s. The scene shows how group outings were part of everyday life at that time. A mother performs repairs on the family car in 1944. The moment shows how many women took on different responsibilities during that period. The shoe-shaped telephone was introduced in 1960. The object represented the technological creativity of that period. The piece became known as the shoe phone and turned into a curious icon of popular culture. A mother walks with her daughter through the streets of New York City in 1970. The moment shows urban life in one of the busiest cities in the world. The image reflects everyday life of that decade and the strong presence of families in public spaces. Soldiers perform calisthenics exercises at Daniel Army Airfield, located in Georgia, on July 1, 1943. Physical activity was part of the daily training of the military. The practice focused on physical readiness and discipline during the period of the Second World War. Emperor Hirohito plays shogi with his son, Prince Akihito, in Japan in 1955. The moment portrays the practice of a traditional Japanese game within the family. The image shows an everyday aspect of the Japanese royal family's life in the post-war period. Winston Churchill enjoys a leisure moment during a swim. The photograph was taken in the mid-20th century. The image shows a more relaxed side of one of the most well-known political figures of the time. Gilbert Kerr, a member of the Scottish National Antarctic Expedition, plays bagpipes in front of a penguin in March 1904. The gesture happened during a break in the expedition's activities. An audiovisual technician of the United States Army works at her videotape editing station in 1973. The role required handling specialized equipment of the time. It is an example of the use of analog technology in institutional and military productions. A delivery made to the Athens Museum in 1984. The moment recorded the arrival of pieces that would become part of the collection. The image represents the importance of cultural and historical preservation. A young couple poses in the state of Oregon during the 1940s. It represents the ideal of prosperity that marked the period. The image is associated with the so-called American dream of the time.